How Caveman discovered fire. Would you believe that the most significant event in the history of humanity could have begun with a burning forest? Imagine the starving man thousands of years ago. No shelter, no tongue, no culture, just survival and instinct. Lightning strikes thatch one day, a dry tree. Fire bursts forth. The sky is orange. The earth hisses and cracks. The animals run, but not one human. He stands there, watching, his heart pounding, not simply with fear, but with curiosity. That instant, right there, is the turning point. Because instead of fleeing, he moved in close, slow step by slow step, one eye squinting through the smoke. And what he sensed wasn't just danger, it was possibility. This wasn't an accident, it was a choice. Fire was frightening, yes, but it was also heat in the cold, light in the dark, power over predators, and ultimately an implement to cook, to shape tools, and to build empires. But discovering fire wasn't a blinding flash. It was a gradual, agonizing, merciless search, a test of courage and creativity. Early humans didn't discover fire. Nature did. But they discovered how to appropriate it. When they saw a wildfire burning, some began to drag flaming branches back to their shelters. Most went out. Some burned their hands. Others caught their huts on fire. But every time, someone tried again. That's what makes the story of fire incredible. It wasn't luck, it was obsession. They learned over time. Patterns emerged. Dry wood was a better burn. Bark snapped differently when it was on the verge of catching. Stones produced sparks. They didn't understand the science, but they understood patience and pain. Archaeologists discovered burnt marks on cave floors 1,000,000 years old. Charcoal layers blended with stone tools. Proof that early people didn't just stumble upon fire. They learned about it. They rehearsed. They became proficient at it. Eventually, someone held two stones, flint and iron pyrite, and hit them against each other. A small spark, a faint whisper of smoke, then a small, quivering flame. It didn't always succeed, but it succeeded often enough. All at once, fire was no longer something you awaited. It was something you created. And with fire, everything changed. Food was not raw and dangerous anymore. Meat could be cooked, which was less difficult to digest and less dangerous to consume. This could have altered the human brain by itself. Cooked calories are more effective, powering larger brains, keen minds, more complicated thoughts. Fire was heat on cold nights. It lengthened the day past sunset, providing humans with time to bond, instruct, exchange tales, and strategize. Those initial dialogues could have occurred by the fire, not merely to kill time, but to stay alive. And next, fire was security. Hunters did not want to get too close. Humans could stay in one location longer. They did not have to flee every night. They had light. They had safety. They had authority. But fire control wasn't merely a survival strategy. It was the first technology. Humans started to modify their surroundings. Fire opened up forests for hunting. It tempered wood tools. It enabled them to create stronger glue for weapons. They even began to modify stones in ways they hadn't before when they realized that heat made flint more workable. We tend to picture cavemen as dumb or unsmart, but acquiring the ability to produce and use fire was as advanced as the release of a satellite. It involved observing, experimenting, failing, and most importantly, imagination. And here's what's really amazing. Not all groups of early humans learned about fire simultaneously. Some transported fire from generation to generation like holy jewels, preserving embers for days. Others figured out how to ignite it on the spot. Various tribes invented different methods. Some used friction, others used sparks, and others relied entirely on maintaining natural fire. Fire grew into culture. It grew into ritual. Some cultures worshipped it. Others feared losing it more than dying. And this wasn't merely about survival. It was about identity. No other animal on Earth has dominion over fire the way we do. Animals are afraid of it. We learned to harness it. That may be the single most characteristic feature of humanity. The first human to harness fire didn't merely prepare a meal. They lit the fuse on civilization. And in part 2, we'll explore how that flame sparked everything else, from the birth of families and tribes to forging metal, inventing cities, and even reshaping the planet itself. Because when humans learned to control fire, they didn't merely survive. They became unstoppable. Before we go further, don't forget to like, subscribe, and ring the notification bell. Because here, we don't simply tell tales, we kindle the ones that forged our kind. Now, picture this. The initial spark did not only illuminate wood, it lit us up. With fire at their fingertips, early humans started to congregate in a circle, not only for heat, but for community. The dance of flame was the earliest screen. Cave walls cast shadows as myths, legends, and memories were shared, not on paper, but in words. Fire provided time and space to think beyond hunting and dream. But that was only the start. As fire conditioned minds, it also transformed the world. Some people started to experiment, flicking bones, stones, even minerals into the fire. One day, someone observed that an odd orange substance flowed out of a stone, molten metal. It cooled, hardened, and was stronger than stone. This was no longer just fire. It was technology. From bronze tools to iron weapons, each step forward began with heat. Fire was the first forge, the first laboratory, the first factory. And it wasn't just about tools. Fire enabled humans to remake entire ecosystems. People long ago employed controlled fires to control land, flush out animals, and enrich soil. They weren't merely existing in nature. They were engineering it. Civilizations developed in this power. Ovens were constructed. Kilns were created. Cities emerged with flame-hardened clay bricks. Out of small sparks came great empires. But like all mighty powers, fire needed to be respected. Too much of it, and forests were gone.